So, race to 9. John Mcallister has won the lag. 45-second shot clock throughout the match. No match clock though, so the match will definitely go the distance. As ever, that effortless power that he has off the brakes seems to get so cleanly through the pack each time. Not quite as straight as usual. The cue ball often comes back arrow straight off his brake, but just squirting over to the side cushion. No damage done though. Cue ball still on the table and a ball potted. It's been a long old road to this semi-final. You start out in a round of 2-5-6. Both players have had to win 6 matches already to get to this point. Red's the choice. Just pushed the cue ball a bit further than he wanted. Don't know if he's got right behind this yellow, or if we can still see the red to cut to the top left corner.
The other semi-final not underway yet. We know one player that's in it, which is Jake McCartney, but he's still waiting for an opponent. And it'll be either Carl Sutton or Greg Batten. They are locked at 7 each. They're down to a 1-frame decider.
What a couple of weeks it's been for Jake McCartney. Made a long trip over from Australia. Won a Pro Series event last weekend at this venue in Blackpool. Stayed around to play in the World Championships and the World Masters, and has reached the semi-finals of the World Masters as well. I mean, it seems like fair reward when you put that much effort into travelling all the way across the world, but he's obviously had to do the hard work once he got here. Were it to be a Cousins-McCartney final, that would be about the most laid-back pool match it would be possible to schedule. Both Jake and Tom, very laid-back demeanour around the place. So John having to bail out of this clearance. First look at the 2 times world champion, Tom Cousins.
He's pretty much strolled through his matches to get this far. A few plays sort of like he's got that far in front, people give up the ghost. Ronan McCarthy was his last victim. That finished 8-1.
Yeah, it's been a long day of it. He started off with a match against Sean Story this morning, which could have been a difficult match for him, but just steamrolled through that one. And it's just carried on throughout the rest of the day.
So a quick look there, that was Danielle Randall in the background. Behind John Mcallister, his partner. Also one of the top lady players on the women's professional circuit.
In many ways, a tougher gig being out there watching your partner than playing yourself. A long match this, so time for plenty of twists and turns. Put you on the spot here, Tony. Who do you have as favourite for the tournament of the players remaining?
Well, there's only one really, isn't there? Let's be honest. It'll have to be Tom Cousins, but if anybody can dismantle him, John Mcallister, well, he can. He's already won a couple of events this year, so no stranger to the deep end of the professional tournaments. Declan Brennan, of course, was the defending champion. He went out earlier today. Jake McCartney did for him. Well, like I said earlier, is in the other semi-final, waiting for his opponent.
Slightly attritional match, that one, between Jake and Declan. They took plenty of time about completing that one. Yeah, it's very hard to see past Tom Cousins. The form he's been in on the professional circuit for the last year or two. It's been Well, I was going to say stuck on 2 world titles. That's almost a ridiculous description because most people would be delighted to be on 2, but he's won the second of those world titles 10 years ago now. A lot of players would expect him to add to that haul. He's in with a great shout of doing the double this year. What a rare achievement that would be, the World Masters and the World Championship.
A very messy first frame here.
Yeah, more visits to the table in this frame than most of the match put together. So much of Tom's normal match is just one frame, one visit frames. Tom is very good at playing the right shot, although he's known for playing a lot of breaking clearances. He's actually pretty good in this kind of frame. Likewise John Mcallister, both very experienced competitive pool players. Odd situation really that's developed here. It's just the balls have got kind of clustered in a way that neither player really wants to be the first to go for them.
Tom can dispatch another one of John Mcallister's reds and play another loss of turn.
The second semi-final will be on table 32.
Yeah, he'd be very happy to do that, and he'd also be very happy if he can get out the 2 yellows that are on the left-hand side of the table. Oh, he has done exactly as you said.
Yep.
The key thing is, whilst there's that red tied up next to the 8 ball on the right-hand side, John's in a bit of trouble, so it makes sense for Tom to try to free everything else up. Very awkward to get that red out from where the balls are sat. It's not the same tactical value there used to be in covering pockets. In rule sets gone by, that would be the way forward, but here, leaving a ball over the pocket, it just tends to get potted, exactly like it's just happened.
Just for those of you who haven't subscribed to Alternate Pool TV, we will be leaving you at the finish of frame 3, so get your subscriptions in. Promo code SUMMER5 to watch the entirety of this match, and also we've got the ladies final later, and then the men's final will follow after that, and also all the pool on Ultimate Pool TV coming to you directly live. Still got plenty of events.
Yeah, it's a big week of pool, isn't it? We've got the concluding stages of men's and ladies World Championships, and indeed a number of other World Championships.
World Team Shootout tomorrow, that's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. Getting back to the match clock format, speed things up a bit. It's down at the quarter-final stages, so we'll be playing quarter-final, semi and final tomorrow.
Well, the first opening. Cousins pot this yellow down into the bottom right-hand corner. Cue ball into red and yellow. Yellow pop out. It might just clip that red above it, but he'll have it out in the open. I'm sure about that. Like you said earlier, Mark, Cousins is good at the old tactical exchanges, as well as being having the biggest breaking pool and also being one of the biggest finishers there is.
Hard man to play. No obvious way forward, is there?
No.
Can't play the tactical game, can't play the attacking game.
Lock him out of the arena. Oh, doesn't want that. Now then. I did wonder when I saw him playing that cushion first. I thought it was going to bump into that yellow.
Yeah, slightly casual shot, that one. He's now created a problem that he didn't need to have.
Double does go though. You can double that into the right hand middle. It will go past that red.
Yeah, the choice is to either do that now where he's on it, or play up the top of the table, play the ball to top right, and then try and leave an angle to dislodge it. But
yeah, it's very hard because he's only got the one ball he can choose to dislodge. So if it's me, I think I'll go now. Might not get a better opportunity. He'd be a bit annoyed with himself because he does pride himself on obviously being very precise and wouldn't have wanted that bump, and he's double hit the yellow. The yellow's come back and hit the cue ball to stop the double going in. Well, just when you thought Cousins was going to get the first frame, a rare mistake.
a very rare mistake based on what we've seen today. He's made a precious few mistakes when he's been in amongst the balls. The only saving grace from his perspective, the position of the red on the right hand side near the 8 ball means that it's not an immediate clearance for John, so that's why he's played the tactical shot. Important to hit a yellow here. Wouldn't necessarily be catastrophic to not pot one from this position because John's still got the ball tied up, but giving ball in hand would be bad because John would be able to manufacture the angle to open things up. So all about the hit here. It's a fairly big target. It's got 3 yellows in openish positions and fairly close together. You wouldn't really expect him to miss, but there's obviously enough space between the balls that you could go between them.
I can now tell you Jake McCartney does have an opponent now for the semi-final, and it will be Greg Batten. He has beaten Carl Sutton 8 frames to 7 in a very long match.
Yeah, they've been playing for a long time, those two. The rest of the draw was sorted out much earlier on. Everyone else has been out for a dinner break in the meantime.
That's very true.
So, John able to put the cue ball exactly where he wants it.
Well, it's going to be John's turn to be playing a double. Unless he opts for the safety. I don't think so. I think attack is the best form here. I don't think you can get to that red to try and shove the cue ball behind the 8 ball. Be looking at that thinking one decent double and that's the frame.
He must have been aware that this was a likely outcome as well, because the way he played that cannon, he wasn't super likely to end up on the ball that he cannoned, so always a likelihood of having to play this double. Play it with a slight element of safety in mind, get the white towards the bottom cushion.
Well, neither player liking that right hand centre for doubles at the moment. Once again, Top Cat gets a bit of a let off. Ball he's going to play is the middle one of those yellows into that top left hand corner, because even if he misses it, he's going to track the cue ball to the right hand side of the table for the next yellow, and he's not going to be leaving a red. But he's not going to miss it anyway. Gone too far. He might. Now then, does he run into it or does he have to go around the table?
Yeah, I think it's quite hard to run into the right hand side of it, so you may have to go around the table.
Yeah, he's going to have to go off the 3 cushions. That's perfect.
Yeah, to look ridiculously easy, but they had to pick that path out. Exactly the right line, exactly the right weight. It took a little while for normal service to be resumed, but it looks like it has now been resumed. And John will be annoyed with that one, because that was a frame he had several chances in. A good opportunity to get the first frame on the board. Made life unnecessarily hard for himself, and ultimately Tom gets over the line.
Well, that's the first one on the board. Tom Cousins leading 1-0. Look at John Mcallister probably mulling over his chance he had there. And don't forget, after the 3rd frame, if you haven't already subscribed to Ultimate Pool TV, we will be leaving you. But you can go and get your subscription with the promo code SUMMER5. You don't want to miss anything in this World Masters. This semi-final, the ladies' final after this. Colette Henriksen will see in that, Harriet Haynes. And then the men's final. One of these two gentlemen will be in it. And then all the rest of the World Championships to unfold as well for the rest of the week.
So, falling over the line in the first frame. Tom Cousins steps up to break in frame 2. More tracking towards the corner pocket, but does stay on the table.
Well, I don't think we're going to see a messy frame this time, Mark.
No, this is more what we're accustomed to from Tom. Big, powerful break as ever. Ball spread far and wide around the playing surface. And this is what you want. Obviously, when you're playing a race to 9, that's quite a long match. If you're going to be scrapping around for individual frames like that last one, you want to start running a few together, get a few quick first visit clearances.
Got a decision to make here, Tom, because both balls are pretty easy. As in, nothing's blocked on either reds or yellows. I'll make him pretty 50-50. I'll have to be actually out there and have a proper look. And Thomas obviously decided the yellows. But there is the case for the reds.
Yeah, it's a nice position to be in that. It doesn't really matter in truth which one you take. Just coming around to look at the angle. Going to leave the ball to the right centre after he puts the one top left. Just figuring out how much angle he wants to leave himself.
I think he's chosen the yellows because there's bigger areas to land in to get on the where those 4 reds in the middle, it's all a bit close together there. And he's looked at his pattern and the route he's going to take.
That ball pretty much dead straight, so easy to hold position for the next ball, which will be bottom right. And then he's naturally in and amongst the two at the bottom of the table. This is one of these clearances that pretty much as soon as he'd broken, you couldn't really see where a mistake would come from.
Might play this and just push the red ball out the way here to make a path for that black. Like that. Gives him that angle now just to flick a little bit of left hand side on the cue ball. Spin it off the cushion on the right hand side. Black ball, bottom left hand corner.
Just to make it even easier. There were some pockets that
easy
the
game,
ball would have gone into, but yeah, clears that one out. What an easy game he's making it look now. Not so much in the first frame. Did take a moment to warm up, but now very much the Tom Cousins that we've been seeing all day. And John Mcallister knows that that's exactly how quickly things can change. He can be in a good position and then suddenly Tom just pulls out that big break. The quality of his break is not just the fact that he pots off so many breaks, but it just seems to leave himself a very high percentage of those kind of finishes where you just got to roll the balls in.
Ross Dunn there and Andy Williams, teammates of Tom Cousins, directly behind him. He's having a little chat with him. Ross actually plays doubles with him. Lucky Ross.
Yeah, that's a pretty good doubles partner, isn't it? Imagine they let Tom do a lot of the breaking in those matches.
Oli Bale sat next to Andy Williams, another of the Welsh international team. The Bullet.
Yeah, some team they've got there. Well, the same could be said of a few teams. The England team is always star-studded.
Well, they'll be in action tomorrow in the World Team Shootout. 4 quarter-finals tomorrow in the day. And the conclusion in the evening, semis and the final. Uh-oh.
Well, that's a bit unfortunate. That was cannoned in. It wasn't going directly in. Let's take another look at how the white ended up there. So what was the trouble? It was tracking towards the pocket, so he does have to take some of the blame, but it was unlucky that it got cannoned in. Again, the ball was pretty nicely situated. Yellow is generally pretty good, apart from the one a bit blocked bottom right. The red's also pretty decent, just the same cluster to contend with. Playing with 45-second shot clock, and the players have one 15-second extension per frame, which Tom has just called. As ever, just taking a bit of time to plan the route before he starts. So reds look like the choice. Well, we say he's very good at going after the problem balls early on. He's got straight after that one. It's not come out as played though.
Yeah, very bullish shot there from Cousins.
Yeah, it wasn't like it was exactly a natural path into it from where he was. But I figure that if he went into that early on where there are still more balls on the table, then he's more likely to leave himself a shot. No one in the world better at that than going straight after the problem. Some people you see store up problems throughout a frame, but there he is a second time.
Well, he's going to have to be able to pot that red that he's been trying to clatter out for the last two shots, and he can. Bit thin. Cue ball sailing towards the 8 ball as well, which he can probably guide away with him if he gets his cue up in the air.
Yeah, ideally he just wants to play this with the cue parallel to the table, but you're right, he's going to have to dig down on it if he wants to completely miss the 8 ball.
It was a bruising shot he played into the middle with extreme force.
Well, feels that he can't cut it in and maintain control, so the safety shot it is.
Yeah, I don't think he liked going towards that 8 ball. He would have been going in at some pace with it as well, and he's not going to run the risk of knocking it in and just handing a frame to Mcallister.
So it was a nice position when you got your opponent frozen on 0. The longer he can keep that going, the better from his perspective. It's not too hard hitting a ball because it's 3 in the centre of the table, but just a full ball contact with most of those is going to leave at least one of the reds on. If he wasn't hampered by the red, he could play off the bottom cushion and nestle on the one near the right centre, but it's kind of hard to reach from where he is, which is why he's going across the table. Well, that's a good effort. That yellow's almost gone down, which would have been one way out of that conundrum.
Yeah, I thought that was going to go in then.
So straight back to the table in a decent position. All of the balls do pot. The red on the right hand side does go to the top right corner, but obviously there's a lot of yellows in that area, so it's not going to be the easiest position to get back out of there. A ball down the left rail, which again pots, but not a formality.
Pulled up short. I think down the bottom for me now. Get rid of that red beneath the black. What I want to do is play it with right hand side and sort of soft screw into the bottom cushion, into left hand round, and try and get on the red that's tucked by the 2 yellows over that middle. If you get on that straight, your next ball is into the centre, and the one down the rail last, guaranteed to be positioned on the black. Well, he's got to move it. Brave shot, because I'll tell you what, you're not likely to be on the ball. I thought I'd have just left that one on the rail.
Yeah, well, that's nice to get it out, as you say. It's sort of hard to imagine if you play it at that angle which board you're expecting to end up on afterwards.
Exactly, you have to land on that ball. I just thought you're guaranteed to get those 2 reds out of the way. You have a shot down the rail on that red, and you fancy, to pot that. Doesn't matter though when you can pot like that, does it?
That's a much better shot than it looks. Into a blind pocket, digging down on it.
Great hit. Doesn't
very often need to leave himself those kind of difficult shots because his position's so good, but Great single ball possum when it's required.
Well, this is going to be 3-0 to Cousins. And once again, if you haven't already subscribed to Ultimate Pool TV, we will be leaving after this frame. So get your subscriptions in. Promo code SUMMER5 as Tom Cousins goes 3-0 up here in Blackpool.
John Mcallister knows that he had chances in the first frame. And unfortunately for him, Tom now starting to grow in confidence. This is what he's like. Once he gets a couple of frames on the board, suddenly you just go 3, 4, 5, 6. You've watched this so many times with other matches today. John's one of the most difficult draws he's faced today, so I'm not saying that's going to happen, but it's definitely a player that's capable of sequencing together a lot of frames. Split shot of the two players. They had different approaches as they sit in the chair.
To be fair, you won't get much out of either of them. I'll tell you what, they both make good poker players. You play a bit of poker, Mark, don't you?
Been known to make a trip to Las Vegas. That's why I've only just got back for this tournament, just in time for
good old Las Vegas Lenny over here. And that's what happened to Nick Finn's chocolates. I just saw what you produced out of your pocket. He's been looking for them for 2 days, and you've been pitching with you, Mark.
Whatever it takes to get through the match. It's not going to be a very difficult match to get through, though, because the players are playing at a lively pace at the moment. First frame was quite slow, but things have noticeably sped up since then.
Well, the breaks have been, I mean, it's very rarely Tom Cousins hits a break and there's nothing to go at, because he hits them that hard and generally makes a couple of balls here and there. I mean, the Messi frame was off Mcallister's break.
Yeah, John's break is very powerful. And he gets
I don't think he got a
but
great connection on that first one. I think it's just the first one in the arena right at the start of the match. Just maybe took a bit off it. That's how he ended up with that.
I don't think he gets quite as clean a layout as Tom, though. That's a good first shot.
Yep, it's got a nice angle.
I mean, that was a shot that kind of didn't look like much because the ball was hanging over the pocket, but actually very important to hold position on the ball at the bottom of the table. And he's not just held position, but he's held exactly the right angle, which allows him to get the cue ball back up the table.
Again, not in perfect position.
Yeah, I'm not sure really which board he was playing for there. It's still clipped to the top left. May actually be able to get through to the one to the top right, but it's very fine and he'd be losing the cue ball if he played that.
I think he envisaged coming a little bit more central with the cue ball, so he had less of an angle popping that one into the bottom left hand corner. I think he might take the one on the right now. Nope. He's going to try. See, this is if you screw to that red and knock it in front of that yellow. Ooh, he's okay. You see he's looking at his angle that he wants for now for that. The yellow into the centre next.
This is how quickly a match can turn around. That first frame was going on, you fancied that this could be quite a long match and like it could be quite an attritional one, but now Tom's got 2 quick frames on the board. Decent progress through this one as well. Could suddenly be 4-0. If it does go 4-0, John's going to slightly wonder what's happened because he had a few chances in that first frame, but really since then didn't have any go at the table apart from that dry break.
Super control there from Cousins. And it's like rinse and repeat. Here goes the black. And it's the Welshman Goes into a 4-0 lead.
It's been a very impressive start.
A little nod of the head there from John Mcallister. Almost an acceptance that there hasn't been anything he can do. John's not a man to give up, though. You won't say any throwing in of the towel from this man. Very determined player is John.
Sometimes he does have a slight lick of disappointment when things aren't going well, but I agree completely. His tenacity is what's got him through to a lot of the titles that he's won. Even if he looks frustrated occasionally at what's going on out there, definitely not somebody to give up. He's also been growing in confidence. He's been a top player for a long time, but he's had a very good season and started to really establish himself as an ultimate pool pro. Carried that form over into this World Masters competition.
Well, that's more like the Mcallister break we used to. Look at the reds. Now then. Welcome to the semi-final, John Mcallister. This is more like it from the Englishman. Look at those 5 reds there. Oh. This is what you want, these sort of finishes.
Well, especially when you're 4-0 down.
Well, yeah.
You just want to get into the match.
Get your frame on the board. Little foothold. Take the one into the centre first. Is he, or is he going to go up top? I think the centre is where I'd be going.
Yeah, he's landed pretty nicely on the one to the centre. Easy to control the white from where he is.
Now the one at the top. You see the one that's nearest the cushion. Well, it's quite a distance away from the cushion, but that will slide past the red into the bottom corner. I think they're all going to go in there, those reds.
Well, that cue ball seems to have deviated across a mark on the table there. But
Yeah, you see fingerprints there.
it's actually worked out fairly well. It's probably made the pot easier than it would have been.
Yeah, well, you stop the white dead here, you've got perfect angle, then you pot the one over the bag. Come around the back of the other red. So all 3 reds are going in this bottom left-hand corner, black in the centre. Even I get these, Mark. I reckon. Well, maybe.
I'd be happy to be out there in this World Masters semi, although maybe less so against Tom Cousins. That's a tough evening's work, whoever you are.
But this is what you strive to do. As a professional pool player, you want to be at the business end of the biggest events. And this is the World Masters. Has a nice ring to it. You know, you'd love to be called the World Masters champion.
Yeah, having the world in the title, and the fact it's only once a year, just all adds to the prestige. So John opens his account. A bit later than he'd have liked to have done, but at least he gets himself going. Not as much of an issue, of course. Race to 9, so slipping 4-1 behind. Not as bad as it would have been in some of the earlier rounds that were being played to...
First to 4.
Yeah, well, it would be bad in a first to 4 for sure. It would have been fairly bad in a first to 7, which is what the earlier rounds were. Allowed himself a momentary smile there, realised he's in the match now. He spent a lot of time out in that main match arena lately. He's been having some good results. Helps to breed confidence. It's been a very entertaining weekend of pool so far. We've already had a lot of people at the venue playing in the various different World Championships and age group World Championships, but a whole load more enthusiastic pool players descended to play in the men's and ladies Masters over the last 3 days. It's been an absolute feast of pool, played across 42 tables.
Oof. Well, that's the sight we were used to seeing sort of last season with the ridiculous smash break from Cousins, where the cue ball sort of sets off in the direction of orbit.
Yeah, it just looks so impressive, doesn't it, when the ball goes in the air. Doesn't necessarily functionally help the break, and in fact sometimes you're probably trying to avoid doing it, but it's just the sheer power he had on that. Not as easy a layout as the last time, but not a whole lot further behind.
The red must just dribble past that yellow at the bottom of the table. Just looking at the overhead, and I think it does. Just sneaks in. It's got to be played tight to the rail. There's no giving that shot.
Coming down straight away for it. The other ball that he'd like to get onto is the ball on the right hand side rail. That could be one of the more difficult ones. Quite a good angle if he wants to go after it now. We get an indication of the difficulty of the finish by how long Tom spends thinking. Spends very little time when it's obvious. Here there's been a few more things to contemplate. Yeah, he's played that really well. From that position, the shot at the right-hand rail is close to unmissable, whereas if you leave yourself a foot further down the table, suddenly it becomes a difficult pot. He's not afraid to leave himself from distance, and he's one of the best potters the game's ever seen. Equally, his cue ball's very good, so if you're able to keep that kind of tight control, it de-risks things. Could have gone a couple of different ways there. The red obviously pots the top one of the reds, obviously pots directly to the left centre. If it hadn't, he'd have screwed back and taken the other ball to the left centre and then taken this one top right. Played like this just saves movement to the cue ball. The only shot he's going to have to play is when he pots the two reds. From the second one, he's going to have to play position onto the 8 ball. Doesn't go to its most natural pocket, which would be the bottom right. He's left himself a very flexible angle here, though. You can make quite a range of different angles off this. Coming to see if the 8 ball goes in the centre. If it does, he can just run the cue ball down somewhere near the bottom cushion. Or he could play round the back of it into the opposite middle or corner. Or he could cannon into it. I don't think he's going to ideally want to cannon into it if he doesn't have to, but that's the advantage of being so close to his work here. He can pretty much make whatever angle he needs. Around the back it is. That always seemed like the lowest risk option. Quite a big margin for error going onto that side of the table. 8 ball pots cleanly bottom left. So the solitary frame from John Mcallister recorded, but Tom Cousins straight back on it. 5-1 now. Just over halfway towards that total of 9 frames. As it's been the entire way through the day, you would have absolutely no idea whether he was ahead or behind, judging by how he was sitting in his chair. No surprise to hear that the other semi-final isn't proceeding at quite the same rate as this. They did start a few minutes later, to be fair to them, but only 2 frames played so far. Greg Batten tied at 1 apiece with Jake McCartney. Greg's kind of slipped under the radar a bit this weekend. We haven't seen so much of him on the stream tables. Just the way it goes sometimes. He's obviously a top pro and has been for some time, so no surprise to see him make a deep run. These 2 players, both former world champions. Jake McCartney has won some professional titles. For Greg Batten, this would probably be the biggest title of his career if he could go on to win the World Masters. He's won a lot of stuff, but this would be one level up, I guess, from that. Well, John's just having no luck here. He just needs to get something going off his own break. Yet again, he's come up dry. Nothing obviously wrong with that break. If you look at how many balls have reached the top of the table, plenty of movement on the pack. It's just bad luck that nothing's gone down. With international rules, the colour you play, you have to pot that colour to choose your set, so you can't play yellow onto red, for example. The plant on the left hand side of the table, that would just be a loss of turn if you played that. That wouldn't help in this particular situation. So going after the yellows, starting with the one top left.
That's a very good shot.
Yeah, I mean, that's turned out so well, hasn't it?
He's got the angle now. He'll kick into the yellow and the red on the left hand side over by that middle. There you go. Look at his little line. He'd be quite happy just to nudge it and pot the red as well, and then slide down for the rest at the bottom of the table.
Well, he played the right shot and he played it well, but I don't think you could have imagined having as good a result as this. The cue ball just seemed to ping back into the dream position.
And you see he's potted the red as well. Opened up all the table once again. This is just incredible performance from Tom Cousins.
Generally, the standard of the players is so close together that even when one of them is playing well, you struggle to call a favourite for a tournament. But really, Tom has to be the overwhelming favourite both for the World Championships and the World Masters. He's the form player coming into the event, just based on the last season or two he's had. But the way he's played the last couple of days just looks so assured, even about his own standards. Showboating there. Could have rolled that in and had the cue ball a few inches further up the table, but decided just to get even closer.
And another frame goes the way of the Welshman. 6-1.
Just full on exhibition mode right now, isn't it?
Incredibly good standard of pull. It's just brilliant from Top Cat.
Maybe John Mcallister, you have to take the positives of this situation. It's not like he's been in and done a lot wrong. His problem right now is that he's struggling to get an opportunity to come to the table. Tom's just clearing off all of his own breaks. Fortunately for John, a couple of his as well. That can change around though. It's just a case of waiting for the chance. Good thing about having played a lot of top level pool like he has is you've played a lot of good players, so even though this has been a vintage performance, he's going to have played other people that have played well. He knows these things happen. Just needs to stay in there. Actually looks very focused. It doesn't look like he's troubled externally by the way Tom's played. I think it's an easier thing when your opponent's playing well rather than you're making mistakes. You've got less to beat yourself up about. What he'd love is just some kind of dry break or in-off from Tom. Maybe the in-off's more likely. The dry break is such a rare item from Tom. Well, there you are. I call it for you, John. Here's your chance.
Yeah, straight in off. Thankfully for John Mcallister, there's plenty of balls went again. Two yellows and a red went.
I mean, there's no such thing as an ideal position when you're 6-1 down, but this is close to it. This is the kind of chance he wanted. A free one off his opponent's break.
It's going to be yellows for John.
The fact that that he's got 2 on the top rail is quite helpful, because he can play good position on the second one. He's going to have to play the one along the middle of the rail, a shot after this, and that's going to be the more difficult one, because the pot's quite tight to the rail and he's got to get position, but he can get exactly the right angle off this one.
In the semi-final, it's still 2-1 to Jake McCartney against Greg Batten out on the outer arena.
Well, it's lucky we've scheduled the ladies' final in between, because I think those two may still be playing, but
yeah,
this match is going at a very lively rate.
Don't forget that will be coming up next. Harriet Haynes versus Colette Henriksen of France. The ladies' final.
Colette Henriksen's performance in the semi-final was...
Oh, you're on comms with that against Marion. What a match.
One of the best matches, possibly the best ladies' match I've ever commentated on. The standard was just absurd. 7 first visit clearances in the first 10 frames. The only signs of nerves from both players were in the decider, where Marion missed a pretty good chance in the end. One she definitely wouldn't have missed earlier on, but you couldn't really begrudge her after the way the match had played out. And that was far and away the best I've seen Colette play. She's been a top player for a long time, but that performance was just something else. It was just breathtaking standard. Should be a bit careful with this one. Just want to find an unwanted cannon on that red that's near the yellow and get stuck down this end of the table. Just needs to probably inject a bit of extra pace to make sure that even if he does get the cannon, he gets the white clean out of that area. Played that well. You see a lot of people in that situation trying to avoid the cannon altogether, when in truth it was pretty much inevitable. John decided just to embrace it, try and make it a thinner cannon and play position off the red.
Nicely played by Mcallister. Long black ball into the bottom corner, a little bit closer to the rail, but fancy him to get this and at least stop the rot.
See from that angle, dead straight. Unfortunately, he hits it pretty much dead straight. Good standard from John Mcallister as well. He's been sat in his chair for a large part of the last half hour, but when called upon, takes the chance. There's a chance off his opponent's break, so it will be John to break next.
Yeah, 6-2. Mcallister to break next. Getting rather warm out there in the arena, as you see. John mopping his brow a bit with a towel. It's warm in here as well, to be fair, isn't it, Mark?
Yeah, it's a unique problem to have in Blackpool. We've been here quite a lot of times recently. We've been holding a lot of pro events here. I've spent a lot more of my time in Blackpool too cold than too hot. So
yeah, that's a very good point.
It's a beautiful sunny evening outside. We're right on the seafront. For those that had time to go out for a bit of a walk in the mid-session interval, it was a beautiful, well, it still is a beautiful sunny evening outside. Inside though, all the action focused on this table as John breaks off in frame 9. Oh, wow. Is his luck turning? I think a frame or two ago that ball was definitely going to fall in, but well, just rested on the jaw.
There is a cut up at the top of the table there with that yellow for Cousins. That's where he'll be heading. Obviously not ideal. There's a bit of a little mess in that bottom right hand corner sort of thing near the black. But an opportunity just the same. Trying to look to see what plan he'll have to dislodge those 2 yellows beneath the black. It's a tricky one there. You can come off. He's looking at it now, coming off that yellow.
Yeah,
it's to the left of the black spot.
I've got a bad angle on it now. I mean, he's, as we keep talking about, generally in favour of going after these things early on. The yellow does pop past the red to the left centre, so at least he's got some chance of landing on that, even if he doesn't land on the ball he cannons out.
Well, how about that? Knock it back out, knock it back in there.
He's done well to put it back where it is, given the pace he turned up with. Didn't play that quite right. He's played some great quality cannons already this match, but just caught the wrong ball there. Or the wrong side of it at least. He was trying to get both of the yellows out. So he's going to need a reroute up the table. Does he continue with the attacking option?
Oh, he does. He's coming in from the top side now. Cut into the middle. He's going to throw another Wellington boot in there and try and splat them apart.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to just go in with a reasonable amount of pace here if he's going to get both of them out.
Yeah, he got the one. Again, he can't believe he has a cannon that other yellow and red stuck together. He still has another chance. He'll have to pot the one in the centre pocket first.
Yeah, he's been quite fortunate that he's had extra chances to go into it. Sometimes in a frame you only get one good chance to go into a cannon, and if you miss it, that's kind of the end of it. By going after it early on, he's given himself a few more options.
Well, I think he's committed now to this finish, and there's no real safeties anywhere, so he might as well chance his arm. Now then, which way does he go? I think he's going to come off the try, coming off the bottom row. So he's tried to go in from the side, he's tried to go in from the top, and now he's going to come in from the bottom.
Yeah, it would be sort of better to come in from the bottom, but the problem is he's got a very narrow angle. If he catches the red two below, there's no guarantee of making the yellow at all.
He needs a bit of luck now. And he's miscued. Well, he did that the other day, you know. I can't remember, about 2 or 3 days ago he had a miscue.
Yeah, it's not something you see very often from top players. It was completely across that. I mean, the only good thing from his point of view is he still hasn't got the cannon. He's been trying to move that ball for ages. Of course, as a result, the reds are still a bit tied up. The reds are much easier to get to than the yellow is, though, so this is very much a free chance for John.
Greg Batten, Jake McCartney even. 2-2 on the other table.
It's often the way that semi-finals can be quite tense affairs, because it's such a big prize getting through to the final. Obviously winning it's the main thing, but being a finalist is one of those things that's etched in the history books forever as well. He's got a nice angle here. He can pop the middle of the 3 reds and flick into the one that needs moving. Could, if he wanted, play it in such a way that the yellow goes onto the 8 ball and knocks the 8 ball out and leaves the yellow where the 8 ball currently is. He's played that really well.
Yeah, very nice there from Mcallister. Just runs this one down the cushion. Take the cue ball through a couple of rolls.
Just about doing what he needs to here. Just needs to hang on to Tom in this match. Hope he gets a few more chances. 6-3 isn't great, but it's not terrible. He's taking these balls well. To look at the angle he wants to leave on the last red. The red does pot to the right centre. He's also having a look at whether he might just take the cue ball over to the right hand side of the table and pot the red to the top left. This is more about composing himself really. Either of those options are fine. It's quite a lot of space to play with.
Yeah, nice little shot there from John. Straight pot into the top corner, stop the white dead. There'll be 2 in a row now for Mcallister. A mini comeback. Still trails Tom Cousins by 6 frames to 3 in this World Masters semi-final.
Good stuff from John to get back into it. You can understand if he was struggling given the pressure he's under. This is the 7th match he's played in this tournament. None of his other opponents have got past 4. Tom's already well past that mark. Beat Michael Hayes 7-3 in the first round. John Gore Jr. 7-1 in the second round. Then on to the pros. Shane Thompson 7-4 in the last 64. Aaron Davis 7-2 in the last 32. Wayne Gore 8-1 in the last 16. And then came through against Jordan Shepherd in the quarterfinals 8-4. Jordan's having a strong couple of days, making deep runs in the World Masters and in the World Championship. So that was a big scalp. A lot of people were fancying Sheppy for this title. It's an example of how well he's been playing. Both players just stepping out of the arena momentarily. We'll be back shortly when they return. So both players back in the arena. Tom Cousins gets us underway in frame 10. Well, break in proceedings has ruined the magic. How often do you see that from Tom Cousins? Comes up dry.
Yes, Mcallister. Another opportunity, and that'll be, if you get 3 in a row all of a sudden. Pretty much the first time today Tom Cousins will be in a bit of a tussle.
Yeah, I mean, it was a match that was really running away from John, but it does just show you've just got to stick in there. Got that in off from Tom at 6-1, got that frame, then added the last one with a good clearance. Chance to go 3 in a row, which would start to become interesting again. If he can get it back to 6-4, that's something for Tom to think about.
No, it's Mcallister's break next. If he got this and got a good break, all of a sudden 6-5, then we are talking.
Yeah, what John's really got to do is get his break going, because that's been very costly so far. Chance there. The trouble is for Tom when he comes up dry, because he's normally got such a good split, he's nearly always leaving quite a good chance for his opponent. Such a rare item though that he does come up dry.
Just come a tad far there, John Mcallister. So he pulled a little face.
Worst case, he could take this ball long. He doesn't really want to do that because it is just about missable. I mean, he shouldn't really. If he takes the ball to the bottom left, it's going to be hard to leave the right angle to the one to the right centre. Is he going to try and force it? Well, I just don't think he can make quite the right angle off this. Even loading up with side, it felt like that was always the kind of line. I mean, he'd actually been in pretty much the same position if he'd have just rolled it in.
This feels like a big finish now, doesn't it, this? Because if he does fall over on this, and Cousins mops up, you know, from 6-4 to 7-3 is a leap.
Well, I think he's talked himself into a problem here. He just slipped a couple of inches out of prime position, but could have just taken the ball on the right-hand side to the top corner if this was troubling him. Because now he's not going to be able to get close to his work. I mean, it should still be fine, obviously, but ideally wanted to be a bit closer. Does he have to pass through to the one over the corner? I'm not sure he can quite see it. If he has to take the bottom of the two, this is missable.
And that was it. He had sort of half a pocket in there. He's just going a little bit the near jaw, and it, as you saw, it just tickled back out again, and feel a real pivotal moment there.
Yeah, strange moment as well, because he was in prime position, then he just slipped just a couple of inches out of prime position, but it seemed like that got in his head a bit and he started worrying more than he perhaps needed to. Either way, Tom must be delighted to be back at the table. As you rightly say, in terms of scoreline, this is such a big numerical swing. 7-3 or 6-4. I don't think Tom is one to dwell too much on factors like that in the scoreline. He's more just of the school of thought, just get on with it and play the frames as it comes. But he's an experienced player. He's got to understand that this is a big frame. These balls link up pretty well at the top of the table. You can take them in almost any order and should still be fine. The way he's taking them, he probably ends up leaving the ball bottom right until last. That affords easy position onto the 8 ball, although as do most of them really where the position is. Well, he's taking these nicely, but this is a chance he absolutely shouldn't have had. When it got to 6-1, John Mcallister didn't really have much to reproach himself for. Just a couple of breaks that hadn't yielded good results, and Tom had mopped up the rest. It's been the first time he's been in for a really decent chance and just slipped out of position, ultimately missing that pot to the top left. Could have been 6-4. It isn't though. It's 7-3. Tom Cousins now just 2 away from victory. Turns round to exchange a few words with his Welsh teammate. Andy Williams there on the right. They obviously want their man to do well, both individually and because as part of the Welsh team they've got big plans for this week. Such a weapon, having Tom Cousins in your team. It just puts the fear factor into a lot of the opposition. This is how relaxed he looks. It's the semi-final of the World Masters. He's just chatting away with his teammates. Certainly a very important frame this for John. Should have won the last one. Does not want to be slipping 8-3 behind. Does he put a bit extra in the break? Somehow when you lose a frame you should win. Sometimes you just turn up with that extra little bit of venom. Well, not perfectly straight. The white was tracking at the right hand side of the table. That turned out to be a good thing because it ended up cannoning in a ball, and that was the only ball that went down. Decent chance this. The balls are spread out fairly well for him. With the French team looking on. Can make a case really for either colour from this position. Seeing this quite a lot from a lot of the players, using their full time allocation and calling the extension the first visit after the break, just to make absolutely sure they've chosen the right colour and planned out a route. Later on in the finishes, most people aren't coming particularly close to that 45 seconds. Professional matches these days generally play to a 30-second shot clock, so this is a bit longer than the players are used to. I don't think that changes anything dramatic, but just gives you a few extra seconds of thinking time. The ladies' final coming straight after this, so the winner of this match will have a bit of time off to reset before the final. The other semi-final still underway at the moment. Jake McCartney now the single frame ahead, leading Greg Batten by 4 frames to 3. John still playing the right shots, still looking fairly composed. Not really done a whole lot wrong. If we're going to talk about a turning point, that last frame is likely to be quite a significant one. Not really a turning point in the sense that he was ahead and then suddenly he went behind, because he was already chasing quite a big deficit. But it was a good chance to get back into the match. Just going around to see if there's a gap big enough between the two yellows to get to the ball bottom right. If he takes the long straight one bottom left first, which leaves the cue ball effectively where the red is.
Played that very well. Should be a little bit mindful if he screws up above the black to play it down the rail, that he doesn't overdo it and pull the cue ball into the middle.
Yeah, the middle pocket plays fairly large sometimes with shots like this. I think from the angle he's at, it's probably not likely to be in play here, but still needs to give it full care.
Oh, he's got to move it. Good shot. That's a frame winner, that ball.
Good finish. Good finish under the pressure that he's under. 7-3 down was an awkward position, and it was one that he probably shouldn't have been in given the way the previous frame had played out. Played some good stuff. Hasn't been in as many times as Tom, and that's why he's 7-4 down, but still playing good quality pool when he gets the chance. Both players looking visibly hot out in the arena. It is very warm in there. It's a sunny evening in Blackpool, and there's a lot of people in this venue spectating on this match and playing on the various outside tables. Other tables in play this evening in addition to this main arena table. Did have 2 main arena tables yesterday, but we've reduced it to 1 for finals day today, and then the team shootout tomorrow. Then we'll be back to the 2 table main arena setup for Tuesday and Wednesday. Just so many different tournaments underway. When you talk about the World Championships, people obviously think primarily about the men's and ladies events, but also the men's and ladies doubles event, and various age groups all the way through from juniors, under 18s, under 23s, up to seniors, over 60s. All the different groups very well catered for. So, with a 3-frame lead, Tom Cousins steps up to break in frame 12. How straight did he hit that? The cue ball just tracking perfectly up the centre of the table. 2 red balls down. I mean, he could not have hit that straighter, particularly given that he was coming at the pack from an angle. You've got to judge the right angle for the cue ball then to come back, and hit it in the dead centre of the table. No opening shot really on red, so that's likely to inform his choice of colour. The yellows are pretty well situated anyway. To come up with a plan with the ball near the left centre. Don't think it quite doubles past the red. Might just be able to get it inside. If not, he may look to move it. Well, he has looked to move it, and he's manufactured an angle that wasn't quite there, but unfortunately now got himself into a bit of trouble. Where it was before, it was feasible to pop the ball up the rail. In that position, it's not going to be very easy to do that, so you may have to find another route into it. One thing you almost never see Tom do is go after a finish where he doesn't have a plan for how he's going to complete it. His shot selection is excellent.
It's just that yellow on the left-hand side.
You could could play it up the rail from where he is.
I think he might play it now. Frame ball if he gets it.
The thing in his favour here is that sort of natural position, the white is just going to bounce out.
I'll take that.
Yeah, good bit of cueing that. Not as easy as it looks, playing a ball down the rail when it's so close to the middle pocket.
Chance to get himself on the hill.
And that's the position you want to get to, because when you get onto the hill with your opponent still 3 or 4 frames behind, you just know how much pressure they're going to be under, and you fancy that you're bound to get at least one good chance in those few frames.
You see, he doesn't want it. He wants to just drop this one into the centre and leave the cue ball in the gap between the red and the black, so he's not hampered cueing, so he can cue fully through the white to screw back for the black.
Just one more shot he needs to play here. It's not a completely natural positional shot. Digging down on the ball, wants to try and screw back in as straight a line as possible. He's hit that so clean. Nicely controlled shot. See plenty of space over on the left hand side, but still hard to inject that much pace without risking missing the pot.
Cousins on the hill. Leads Mcallister 8 frames to 4. Just one away from a place in the final. Chatting away to his mate Andy Williams. Dubs. Dare say a few of those Welsh lads have got a couple of quid on it to win it.
Yeah, I don't think you've got a very good price, because even though it's a nearly 300-man field, Tom Cousins' name really stood out right from the start. Yet to win the World Masters, which is maybe a surprising statistic given his prowess. Definitely a title he'd like to have on his CV. Very few other titles he hasn't won in the last couple of years. He's been tearing his way through the pro ranks. And all credit to John for the way he's handling himself in this match. He hasn't let his head drop or shown any signs of giving up at any stage, despite the onslaught from Tom. He's struggling right now to get enough chances at the table to get the frames he needs, but all he can do is hang on in there. I'm struggling to think of too many examples where I've seen Tom Cousins lose a race to 9 from 8-4 up. There is a first time for everything. That's a well hit break, arrow straight, cue ball came back in a dead straight line down the middle of the table. And his reward for that is a pretty good layout on yellows. Only 2 balls that pose a real problem, really. The 2 yellows at the bottom of the table, bottom right.
Well, it's with the one yellow really, he can get to the other one, he can use that to kick the other one out, so. Lovely shot.
Played that really well. Came close to counting the top yellow, which he wouldn't have wanted, but now he's past it. He's in pretty much prime position. Something about being 8-4 down, or any position where your opponent just needs 1 from victory, it just really focuses your mind. There's just no substitute for perfection, really. You just can't afford to make any more mistakes. a pretty good positional shot. Just needed to leave an angle to get through to the bottom yellow in a way that he could play out the one that's just above it.
Just to let you know, on the outside arena near the semi-final, Jake McCartney now leads 6-3 against Greg Batten.
But it's purely on the form of the last week or so. I guess you would have had Jake as a slight favourite for that. Greg has been one of the real, well, not surprise packages of the tournament. He's obviously a great player, but he's been one of the preeminent players of this tournament so far. Ball does pop to the right centre. So not from where he is now, or at least there's no purpose taking it from where he is now. He's going to have to go bottom left. Just needs to get the cue ball high enough up the table that the 8 ball and the red aren't obstructing him.
A nice finish this from John Mcallister. Got the crowd there soaking it up. Mcallister refusing to lie down.
Yeah, it's been a very impressive performance, this. He's come up against an opponent who's in fine form. And he's played his part absolutely in this match so far. Still a long shot, but he's still going.
And it will be the Cousins break next. Or is it? Yes, it is. It's 8-5. Mcallister broke first, so it will be Tom Cousins. Yeah, that was a breaking out, wasn't it? So I'm losing my mind.
He's going to have to fade at least 2 Tom Cousins breaks. Still going in both tournaments. Slightly unusual format where we've got the World Masters nestled in the middle of the World Championships, as it has been for a number of years. That means that some of the players have already booked the last 16 berths in the World Championships and now taking some time out to play in the World Masters. Did have to play one round. The last 32 of the main World Championship draw was played first thing this morning, so Tom's had a pretty busy day of it. Played a lot of frames of pool today. But in a way there's a simplicity to that. A lot of players don't love the waiting around between matches. They'd rather just be out on the table doing what they know and love the best. Going to get at least 2 chances off his own break and at least 4 frames in which to win this match. He'd very much like to do it at the first time of asking though.
Huge break, cue ball, no. Well, there we are. 2 balls at the bottom of the table blocking each other, a red and a yellow.
Great chance to get the frame that he needs to get over the line here. They're not quite drop-ins, but for a player of his calibre, it's a very makeable finish.
Yeah, like I say, the one ball needs shifting at the bottom. I think I prefer yellows, but then there's a case for reds where the red is with the black. I don't know. I'll say yellows. That's me. But
yeah, instinctively, yellows was my reaction when I first saw this. Normally, as with most things in life, your first reaction's the right one.
Yeah, the 2 reds at the top would be a pain to try and get on. Well, that's promoted the black ball as well away from that red. So it's all about the ball having to be moved at the bottom.
I'd ideally like to have been able to get into it here, but I think he's a bit too straight, plus he's slightly hampered on the ball to the bottom right, so it doesn't make it a great ball to use. Oh, well, he's forced an angle from nowhere there.
Tremendous shot.
It was pretty much dead straight on that ball.
Loads of power. Let's have another look at this. Yeah, that's an incredible shot there from Tom Cousins. Ideally, like a little bit of angle just to get the cue ball up. If you get the cue ball towards the black spot, I'd be happy.
Well, so far he's managing to make angles out of absolutely nowhere.
Yeah, these can stay out if forced. Might just roll this in and... Oh, no. No, he's played the tougher shot, which was to play it with a bit more weight, which means that the ball has to be pinpoint. Does he have a little bit of angle just to get closer to that ball that's on that rail?
Still got a couple of shots to play here because he
has a tiny bit he can punch this. And here we are. Yellow up the rail. Yellow down the bottom, black in the middle. These three balls for a place in the final for the man from Wales, Top Cat, Tom Cousins, the number 1. I hold the cue ball. He's made the pot. Ah, that's brilliant.
What a piece of cueing that was.
There's all the youngsters that are all playing in here, all the some of the junior teams and under 23s watching a master in action. Down goes the last yellow. This black for a place in the final, and in it goes. And Tom Cousins defeats John Mcallister 9 frames to 5. Fantastic performance from the number 1, and he will go through to the final. We don't quite know who he's going to meet yet. Batten and McCarthy still playing. Don't go too far away. When we come back, Simon Webb's going to be talking to Tom Cousins.